Hola Comadres. Welcome to the third episode of Comadreando. I'm your host, Marcy, and today we're joined by my amazing guest. His name's
Hi, I'm
Kevin,
Kevin
and
Wilson,
I'm going to let him
father
introduce
to an
himself.
autistic
Who are
14-year-old
you?
daughter named Kyla. I work on film sets.
Okay, what do you do for a living, Kevin? Awesome. All right, Comadres. So today the topic is dating as a parent of a child with special needs. But before we get into the meat and potatoes,
Yes.
Kevin, you said your daughter has autism. I wanted to ask, when did you or your
So
daughter's mother notice
when my daughter was born, I was
that your child was different?
incarcerated. My daughter's mother started to realize something was like up with her around, I want to say like, I think they call it the birth to 3 program, but I want to say around like maybe birth to 3, somewhere in between there. I want to say maybe 6 months into it, maybe 8 months into it, or a year or something. I can't pinpoint it.
So the early Head Start program that your child's mother was part of with your daughter, was she closer to like finishing the program when she got diagnosed? Like
Yeah,
she was older, walking, talking,
she was
or
like
supposed to be walking and
learning
talking?
how to walk. I'm pretty sure she was already saying a few words,
Okay.
but things kind of changed up.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So they regressed. Okay, that's pretty typical. For boys, usually they diagnose anywhere from 12 to 18 months. For girls, it takes a little bit longer. I don't know precisely the reason why. For the most part, it's like later on. So for girls, based on studies and research, it's from 2 to 4 years old that they're diagnosed. So now to the topic at hand. What has it been like dating as a parent of a child? Well, as a single parent, one.
Okay,
and
but I have
moreover, as a parent
really,
of a child with special needs.
perspective in this because my daughter lives in another state. So I feel like I get away with a lot more, like being able to date and not have to schedule a babysitter, which can't just be any regular babysitter. So I'm pretty sure my daughter's mother probably will be way more capable to answer that like in details. But I can say that as in me dating and being in another state, like I take a lot of things into consideration when I'm dating somebody. Like if this is going to be something that I don't like, it's just like a regular date and I don't know if it's going somewhere. I'll mention my daughter and I'll talk about my daughter and show my daughter, but if it's not getting serious, I'm not going to bring my daughter around. I just don't feel the need to.
I understand that. So when you're in the talking stage before you go on the date with the person, do you, like you mentioned, you have a daughter, obviously. Are there any questions you ask to field whether or not this person might be or have the potential to be someone you might be with long term?
I kind of like in conversation, usually with me, like different things pop up, and it's kind of like I not red flag it, but I like if I'm on a date with a female and she says something disturbing about autistic kids before I even get to say something, I'll like, like, okay, well, I know I won't be with this young lady too long. It really just things just come up in conversation. Things like if they have kids, how they parent their kids. Because I feel like my obviously my daughter is special. She does need special attention. It's not if you can't. I don't know if I should say a regular child. If you can't handle a child that is not autistic, you won't. I don't know if you'll be able to handle a child that is autistic. And my baby is very precious. That it doesn't matter how cute you are or how much money you have. like my daughter is very precious to me. So if you have like a nasty attitude or just uh don't want kids or something like that, I can't. It doesn't matter how beautiful you are. It's like I have to go the other way. Maybe it could be a short term thing, but it won't be something long. It wouldn't be something long lasting where I would be feel comfortable bringing my daughter around.
Okay. But
Hmm.
when your daughter is around, like when she comes from out of state to stay with
Hmm.
you, how do you, if it's serious,
Absolutely, I
do
have to
you
if it's
introduce
serious.
that person to
If I
your
believe
daughter?
there's a chance of it actually going somewhere, yes, because we're a package.
Okay.
It's no just me. In the sense that my daughter is something that I don't want to say deal with, but I don't. It's not a situation where when I feel as though my daughter turns 18 and that's it, she's gonna get her house and that's it. Bye. I still walk with my daughter to the bathroom when she's 14. Her mother doesn't, but it's just I'm not around her 24/7, so I don't like. I still have that like Papa Bear. I have to follow you everywhere just in case something happens type thing.
Okay. Um, so going back to the comment you made about, you know, how you determine whether this person is
Hmm.
worthy of meeting your princess or your treasure. Um, is there anything that you would consider a red flag, like besides the
Attitude,
parenting thing?
personality. Um, Most of the things that would be considered a red flag if I didn't have
Hmm.
a child with autism. Yeah, patient. Like
A
I
child.
would look for all the good things, but it's like it's almost like I have to like put a microscope on it even more because of my daughter.
Do you ask them if they've before you, let's say before you talk about your daughter having special needs or having autism? Do you like bring it up in conversation? Have they ever, dealt with a person with autism or
Yeah,
spoken
once
to
we
them, or is there
start
anybody in their
once I
family
I
that has
start like once
autism?
there's an interest and we start talking, usually it comes up and I usually like bring it up almost I want to say almost immediately, especially if I like I'm very attracted to the female or whatever, because I kind of like to get stuff like that out of the way because if it's not something that they're even I don't know how to say comfortable. I don't if it's not something that they're willing to deal with, then they're not willing to deal with me because like I said, it's a package. And mostly I don't think I bumped into anybody that said, "Oh, I can't do an autistic child or something like I can't be around an autistic child." I don't think I've ever been around somebody who's like blatantly said, "Oh, you have an autistic child. I don't want to speak to you." I haven't got that.
Mm. Well, I
Mm-hmm.
mean, for me, because I'm single also. Uh, my dating, I usually do like a couple of things to field the person. I usually ask that, like if they've ever dealt with a person with autism, and I also see how they refer to
Hmm.
people with
Hmm.
special
Yes,
needs, like if
exactly.
they use words like the R word.
Yeah, 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 yeah.
That used to be okay in the 90s when we were kids, but I have like special issue with things
Hmm.
like that because I feel like it's very derogatory, and
Yeah,
we're in the 21st century,
yes,
and that kind of
I
speak is
put that
not
on the same level as in calling
what's up.
a black person an N word or calling a female a B. Like it's just as disrespectful.
Hmm. So yeah, it definitely I use that. Also, when I feel like it's getting serious and I bring my child around the person, like seeing that interest in the person, or even when talking on the phone, if
Hmm.
they
Hmm.
ask how my child is
Super.
doing, like I feel like that's a big deal. I mean, not only as of a child of a parent of a child with a special need, but also as a parent. You want to know that if it gets to that level, that you can rely on that person, or that person's gonna
Hmm.
have an interest to be around your child.
Um,
So, ¿qué
I
más?
I was gonna say
How? Wait,
I try
wait, go,
to
go ahead.
like I have conversation and I keep my daughter in the back of my mind for like the responses that I get. And it's not anything that I've ever had to do before. Before it was just, just me. I wasn't looking like now I really when I was going on dates, it was really like, is this I don't have to look at it. I can't just look at it like, oh, is this somebody who I would like to date? And that's it. Now I really have to put in like, is this person, fit enough to be around my daughter? Is this person um I don't know, cool enough, has enough patience to be around my daughter? Because I hardly have patience, and I learned a lot of patience from being around my daughter. So if I'm her father and I lose my head and I lose my cool sometimes, if I have a partner who is not the mother, she really has to be more patient than me, I would say, because I'm the father and I lose my cool. Her mother loses her cool. It's very difficult.
Mhm.
Having I don't want to just say a child with autism. Having my daughter, um, whenever we would go anywhere where there was a crowd, she's falling out and she's crying. Her mother would be very, very embarrassed, and me, I would just be like, all right, well, screw everybody. I don't care. My daughter's crying, so what? Um, I hate it when people come and give you parenting advice, not knowing she's autistic. I also hate when people say, "Oh, but she doesn't look it," and I don't know or I don't know that like autism has an A, like people have an A on their forehead. I don't know what an autism look is. Um, because are they mixing this with Down syndrome or like what are you exactly saying? What is an autism look? And I've before I used to get very defensive and like, almost like I don't want to say have an altercation, but argue back and forth. And now it's just like I understand they just don't really know any better. And some people don't know any better, and some people say it. Um, I guess I want to say with like a bad intention, but either way, it rubs me the wrong way every time I hear, "Oh, she doesn't look it," and it's like I don't know, it's just weird.
It's kind of
Hmm.
like when I don't know, you're Dominican too, right? But like when they're like, "Oh, you don't look
Yes,
Dominican." I'm like, "What
exactly.
am I
And
supposed to
me
look like, a
with my
plátano?"
English, it's like, "Oh yeah, you're black or you're half black." It's like, no, I grew up in the USA and I'm Dominican. I'm
So
sorry.
the whole thing, I feel like there's a lot of ignorance regarding autism. Like, and I've gotten
Hmm.
that too. Like, "Oh, he doesn't look autistic." I was like, what does a person with autism look like?
Hmm.
It's a spectrum disorder. One, there's people that are like, and the DSM-5, which is the where they describe different disabilities and mental health issues. They describe it as an autism spectrum disorder. A
Hmm.
spectrum is like, a rainbow, right? There's different levels and different tiers, and not everybody that has autism has the same
Hmm.
symptoms
Yes,
or
absolutely.
challenges, right? So my son, I would
Hmm.
consider him like in the middle. In the middle, there's some kids that have Asperger's, which is not a classification anymore. But a child with Asperger's or a person with Asperger's is higher functioning, socially awkward, and there's also children on the complete opposite end
Hmm.
of the spectrum that they're nonverbal. Even though they understand, they need a communication device to communicate their needs. So when people say things like that, it kind
Correct.
of makes me question, like,
Yeah, yeah.
do you think that's okay to say something to somebody? Um, Also, the parenting advice. I was dating somebody that, bless his heart, he tried,
Tried.
and Aiden wasn't really.
Yeah, no,
I talked about it on another podcast, but Aiden basically, like, he was trying to like
yeah,
correct
yeah.
Aiden. Like, that's another thing. If you're dating somebody and they have children, regardless if you're in that person's life, leave the parenting to them, unless that person specifically asks you to address something, because the way you communicate with that child might not be the way that the
Hmm.
child receives the messages. So
Yeah.
it might rub the kid the wrong way. So this guy, we were on a date. We were hanging out afterwards. And this was like later on, like after we had been dating for a few months. And my son was around, and basically Aiden told Aiden to go to his room, and Aiden took his phone and then just started in the air. So then when I reprimanded Aiden that I was like, hey, that's not okay, we don't do that, as he's walking away, that he's going to the room, he's like, that's an ugly hat. And then he looks back and he's like,
Wait, who said that's an ugly hat? Yeah, you right.
My
It's an ugly
son
hat.
said that
Come
to
in
the
here and tell me
guy.
what to do. You lucky. That's the only thing he said.
So definitely when you're like, I don't know, that's something that I like let them know, like, hey, let me handle the situations. Later on, if you feel comfortable, we can have a discussion before you try to intervene, because, you know, you have a specific relationship with your daughter. I have a specific relationship with my son. And somebody coming from the outside that's not a teacher, or somebody's working with him that has experience working with people with special needs, is not going to understand the behavior. One, they're not going to understand how to speak to the person. And I feel like that's important. But definitely, I agree with you with everything you
I
said.
do have something I wanted to say that you almost left my mind that fast. But I like having my daughter with autism. It's a lot of like long-term stuff that you have to deal with that doesn't necessarily click in all the time. For instance, before when my daughter's mother was pregnant, Aisha, when she was pregnant, um, she would always tell me about, once we found out that it was a girl, she would talk about like the bond that she wanted to have with her daughter, and how she like we would talk about the most silliest stuff. When she gets in trouble at school, we're not going to believe the teachers because the teachers lied on us. Like just dumb, like dumb, silly stuff. We young, and we're just like dreaming up stuff. So when my daughter is actually born, and the denial phase of the autism, um again, I was incarcerated when she was born, so I was getting a lot of like secondhand uh forgot information. But I was like looking stuff up. I looked like autism up or whatever. And whenever, I don't care if they would have said she had 4 legs, she's my daughter. I don't care what happened, what disease, what none of that matters to me. She is my daughter, and I'm going to help her figure it out. So the first thing I did when I heard about it, being in jail and not having that much to do, I kind of got like fascinated with trying to figure out autism, like I could fix it or something. Um, and I went and I would talk to her mother, and I would try to get little bits of information, but it's only so much stuff that you can cover. Um, and I noticed with my daughter, it's rough because when she gets her period, um, you know how you figure that out? It's you just walk in the room and you see a bunch of blood on the bed. There's like she can say that she's hurting, but like the cramps and stuff get very bad, and she's starting to get like physical now, but hurting herself, biting, head butting, slamming herself on the floor, and it's scary because it's something that I still haven't. This is just like this is just now starting to happen. She would do little things, but now, like with her cramps, women regularly get. They always say like, when women are going through that they get a little bit more irritated. So her that she only says, stomach hurt, and that could mean anything. But when her period comes, she's starting to get very like very aggressive, and we're trying to figure out how to deal with that the right way.
Okay. I can't even imagine. Like right now, Aiden's in pre-puberty, like stage 5 or something that the pediatrician was saying. But I'm seeing the changes in his behavior as well. So it's something that I don't feel mentally prepared to deal with. I'm gonna look for resources and maybe speak to other parents of children that have autism that are older. But yeah, it's. And going back to what the thing you said, like having like that mourning period for the future you thought your child was going to have is really
Yeah.
intense. Like I knew something was up. I had an idea that it might have been autism. But when he finally got evaluated by the early intervention people, it was kind of like they hit you with a ton of bricks. And I didn't want to cry in front of people. I'm getting teary-eyed right now. But I didn't want to cry, but like I literally started crying. Like I was like, what? What do you mean? And it was just like a roller coaster. So then like, you know, after the mourning stage, you go through like acceptance and what is life going to look like going forward. And you think about, you know, you have plans in your brain. Like they have a saying, you make plans and God laughs. So you have these plans. You're like, oh, I'm, you know, he's going to get married and he's going to own a house and he's going to do this career. Well, not the career necessarily, but it's going to be successful and all these things. And, you know, that kind of goes out the window and you really just have to like sit and observe your child and see what they're into and think about how their brain works. Because I don't feel like, yes, autism is a disability for typically developing people, as I make air quotes in the air, but they have a different way of seeing the world.
Absolutely.
It's so special. And once you figure out your child's, like how their brain works and the things that make them excited, it's like you're opening up like a treasure box and you're finding new things. I don't know if you went through that with your daughter.
I always like my daughter. One thing I know about my daughter, if you want to make her happy or if you want to break her out of any funk, just talk about food. A food list. You can bring food, but actually just speaking about food, you have a friend to the end. I just hope that you can list every food, onion powder, garlic, anything that's in the supermarket, you can list and she will gladly. I realize she can spell better than me. I can't even spell zucchini. She can spell zucchini. She can spell all types of stuff. And I'm just looking at her like, who is the autistic one here? Like, really? Because she does stuff and it's like, hold on. Like, are you like, she plays little games. When she was little, she used to hide stuff everywhere and then come back and find it. And I would be what is going on here? She likes, she really, really loves food. Like how women are like obsessed with purses and like clothes. She doesn't care about anything else but food and eats.
She's my type of girl.
And she loves smelling. She smells everything. Like she has this, has, like I'll lay in the bed, she'll smell my feet, then like run around and do a cartwheel, then come back and smell my feet. And I'm like, do my feet really smell that good? Or like, I don't know what she just has like these little things. And it's like, yeah, that's my daughter.
Little quirks.
Yeah, that's Kyla. Like that, yep. Like
I love
sometimes
that.
me and her mother talk and I'm like, yep, I know exactly what you mean. Yes, I know. That's her.
I have a question. How was she with affection when she was younger?
When she was younger? I don't know because I used to always smother.
Like when she first got diagnosed, was she always affectionate or like did that kind of grow on her as she got older?
I think that has to be like because I wasn't there. I think if I answered that, I think I would be lying because I wasn't really there in the like as far as I was being incarcerated. So the day-to-day of because I know as soon as I got her, I was all over her. I don't care if she was mad or not.
So how old was she when you were able to rejoin her?
I think she was like 3. I think she was 3.
Yeah. So that's significant. So how was she when you were affectionate with her? Did she respond and want to hug back, or kind of like let you hug her and kind of like?
No, she with me definitely because I was the like the fun parent. So like she loves to go outside. She loves to go on swings, amusement parks. That's another thing for her. Like, so whenever her mother would leave out of the house to like, her mother would hype her up. You're going to see daddy. You're going like to prepare her. And she would already be happy because she's getting in the car and leaving. And as soon as she gets to daddy, it's like it's almost like, shut up, dad. I'm gonna do what I want. You just follow me. And like she really she takes advantage of me every chance she gets, and it's kind of like I let her slide because I don't know like what else to do. Not I don't want to say not what else to do. It's not like she runs wild, but it's like if she wants to turn left, we're turning left. If she wants to skip through a crowd, we're skipping through a crowd. Whatever it is that she wants to do, I'm up for it because when she'll just start crying out of the blue, or like feel down. And sometimes she does this thing where she does this, like she does this sometimes, and like her eyes go up to the corner and looks up. And I don't know if she's like having a memory or a flashback. That's what I take it as that she's doing. But like she does that every now and then, and that's a quirk that her mother like really doesn't like. But it's really anything. It's really isn't anything. She just does it though, and she makes this like noise.
Can I interject?
Yes.
So, just for the people that are listening, those are called stimulatory behaviors. So there's certain things that kids with autism do to help them settle themselves, either calm themselves or like feel their bodies in a certain space. And those can be hand gestures, like what your daughter does. My son does a lot of scripting.
Scripting?
So scripting is that he'll repeat everything from a cartoon or a movie just to help himself deal with whatever's going on. And he'll use it appropriately, which is that's the thing that like that I'm just like, wow, because he'll script something from a movie, but it makes sense to whatever's going on in that moment. So I feel like that what Kyla's doing is a stimulatory behavior. And it's kind of, sometimes they like to spin objects. Sometimes they like to like bounce around. They do the hand flapping.
She lines up
line up toys.
Yes.
Yeah, line up toys. Or like do the hand flapping. It just helps them like settle themselves, or like if they're feeling like low energy, it'll bring them up again. It all serves a different purpose. But yeah, a lot of kids with autism have they call it stims, stimulatory behaviors.
She has three things. It's food, swings, roller coasters, food, swings, roller coasters, and I don't know what's the other. It's one. I feel like it's one more thing, but like those things, she doesn't really like. I don't think she really likes like covering her ears with like headphones and stuff like that. She's not really into that. But she's a happy kid. She likes singing. She repeats a lot. Like she'll repeat.
Yeah,
if I say Kyla go to school, she'll say Kyla go to school. And now she'll flip it now also. She started doing that now. So she'll say Kyla go to school, school go to Kyla, but she'll text that.
Oh,
she'll text that. Like she'll just repeat what you said, but if she has a memory like
they have great memories. Yeah. They have very great memories. So that the repeating of things that you say or the things they hear, like immediately after it's said or heard, it's called echolalic speech.
Echolalic speech?
Yeah. So echolalic speech is basically you're repeating back what you hear. Sometimes they do it to reaffirm what's going on. I did an episode before we recorded, and it's talking about traveling with a child with special needs. And basically, I'll tell Aiden something, and he'll perseverate on it. That means he'll like really focus on it. And we'll be getting ready in the morning. Where are we going today? I'm like, you know where we're going today. He's like, I'm going to school. I'm like, how are you going to get to school? I'm going to go on the bus. But before I got to that point, it was kind of like, Aiden, we're going to school. I've told you 100 times already. Every Monday we go to school. So, I feel like it's not so much that he doesn't know what's going on. It's kind of like he's getting a confirmation or she's getting a confirmation.
Yes.
Yeah, our kids are
so she likes
awesome,
to line. She likes to line stuff up too. She'll I'll say first take a shower, then eat, then we go to swings, and she'll confirm it also for me and play it back.
awesome.
I was going to say, like in the beginning, to cope with her autism, because I was like, I don't want to say that I'm not a scholar. I've done like a semester or so in college or whatever. But at the time that when my daughter was younger, it was kind of like they were teaching her sign language, and of course I'm so impatient that even though it's my daughter, I just came with my own sign language. So my own sign language, like I would see her and I would do like dumb things like salute her, and she would like salute me back, and her grandmother would be like, "Why don't you just learn? That's all that me and her know what's going on. We're fine." Like it was salute, stomach rubs. She would just rub her stomach. Um, I did this when she was hungry, and she would do it also.
Uh-huh.
Um, like me and her had our own little sign language, which I'm sure probably her learning the other sign language. But I learned some things like this, like her tapping her I think her right here means like she was hurt or something, or
Okay.
like she had a hurt feeling. Um, it was a lot of different things I did to cope because I just felt like, well, if my daughter is special, I can have a special bond with her. Who else? Like who else? Who else does it matter to that me and her communicate this way as long as me and her have this bond?
All right. I love that so much. So I want to have a couple of other questions. So you told
Mm-hmm.
me the things that she loves. So she's into roller coasters. She likes to cook and food,
Mm-hmm.
and she
Mm-hmm.
enjoys swings. But
Yes.
tell me more about your daughter. Like,
Trampoline.
who is she? Oh, and
Tramp
trampolines.
the trampolines. That was the other one. She
That's
loves to
cool.
jump. It's
So,
actually a book called by an autistic kid that's Japanese, and it's called, I think it's either Let Me Jump, or I have to remember, I have to get the book's name, but he wrote the book with like his little like tablet, like and he's basically saying that a lot of autistic kids love to jump because it's the only time they feel free.
mhm.
Like they like I don't know if all kids that are artistic like to jump, but this was him explaining himself. I'm gonna get the name of the book for you.
Yeah,
I'm
if you
sorry I
get the
don't
name
have it
of the
now.
book, I can drop it in the show notes for the listeners as well, and for me because I haven't read it yet, and
Yep,
I love reading things like that. Uh,
got
so tell me more about Kyla. Like, who is she? What makes her sparkle?
you. Food. Food makes her sparkle so much, and really is really those things. It's really as simple as that. Like um when she's in a real big funk, I don't like to promise her those things and not give it to her because it will be a problem. But when she's in a funk and I can move around, I'm going to do whatever it is that she wants to do because she will not let up until she gets one of her demands.
Okay.
And while her mother might send her to a room, I'm such like a Kyla's dad that like it's 5 in the morning and I'm getting up to go to the swings because Kyla will scream and yell and fall out, and of course wake me up if I'm asleep.
Mm.
So to not have like a WWE fight with my daughter,
Oh my gosh.
I get up, and I do like what she wants because I know she's gonna be persistent in what she wants, regardless if I'm tired or not.
If anything, our kids are super persistent. Like they do not let up.
Yes. No, there's no letting up.
I
But she's a sweetheart though.
I know. She seems so sweet. What else? So we were talking about your daughter getting her period, and how she lets you know. Are there any fears or reservations for that you have for her as a that she's gonna be a woman with autism? Um, you know,
Mhm.
like as she grows up.
Like I don't I like I said before, a lot of all right, so the way I see Kyla and her mother is like I give her mother like a lot of flowers, not literally, but like it's like she has two younger sons and she has my daughter. She makes sure that my daughter gets like the best care that she can. Um, but I know in this situation when my daughter turns 18 or older, 20, I'm still going to see the little bit. I feel like she's gonna get. I've seen her get laughed at in the park, and her not even realize that the kids are laughing so bad that I wanted to go and like, go get your parents up or beat your parents up. Like yeah, because it's like she's not even hurting anybody. She's like, she's spinning and she's making her little noises, but she's not really hurting anybody. She's just in her own little zone. And the kids that were making fun of her were even younger than her. So like stuff like that, I know the world is very, very cruel. Besides racism, besides there's all types of stuff. And then so like your those type of things can hurt somebody like me or somebody like you that are who think we perfectly know everything is fine in the world, but we can go outside and get into trouble and run into trouble. So me, I'm very like I don't know that I'm gonna let my baby go. I don't know that she's ever gonna be, even if she was way more higher functioning. That when I'm around her, first of all, I don't want her to get hurt because of her mother. I don't want her to send her back to her mother hurt, whether if she was autistic or not. So being that she is autistic, it's like I have a real like even more like I have to protect my baby. I have to, because I don't want to say I'll just say I don't think she knows any better. Plain and simple. That's the best way to. I don't care if anybody gets offended. It's my daughter. You deal with your kids the way you want to deal with them. I'm gonna deal with my baby the way I want to deal with mine. And I feel as though I want her to, I don't know, if move in with me or something. I don't know. I don't want to let my baby go. The world is way too cruel and way too messed up to let her for me to let her step out.
Yeah. So my plan for Aiden when he's older, I'm planning on getting a mother-daughter house, but this time it's gonna be mother-son. And I want to give him a space so he can be an individual, but I still want to be there for him.
Exactly.
I don't mind. Like he's very independent though. I don't know if I've told you, but I actually send him away to camp in the summer, like a week at a time. He has a really good time. He gets to be around other kids. He's supervised the entire time by adults. He's not by himself, just doing his own thing. And he really enjoys that. Like when I put him on the line to go to camp, I get more heartbroken. I'm like, my baby's leaving. And he's like, bye, Mom. See you next week.
Yeah. Like,
so, I know that he can do it on his own. It's just, do I feel comfortable letting go? And I feel like as parents, like, yes, we need to learn that, but also there's nothing wrong with taking care of our babies.
Absolutely.
What else? So yeah, definitely having a mother-son house is in the plans for the future.
You know what's funny? When I get like when I stop, like Kyla's so funny. Like when we start making a list of foods, and I like run out because I'll say like I'll think in my head seafood, and then I'll run down every seafood that I know. Then I'll think like seasonings, and I run down every seasoning I know, fruits, vegetables, all the way. When I run out, and I'm tired of repeating, and I'll start saying stuff like, what's next? Beans. Do you know anything, Kyla? And then whenever I get stuck, she'll do it. She'll go, and I'll laugh like, Kyla, stop repeating me. And she'll just look at me like, I don't care, right? What's next? Like what's next? In the same exact way. And I'm like, this little girl is so funny, man. So like she surprises me all the time with the stuff that she does.
What is it? Aiden we had a little game when he was younger. I think he was like kindergarten or first grade. He would ask me, we would start singing Old MacDonald. And then I would pause. Old MacDonald had and then Aiden would tell me an animal. And of course, he picks animals that don't really make a noise or not common animals. So I'm like, Old MacDonald had a farm. And he's like, a peacock. I'm like,
what do I do?
I'm like, I'll just make up a sound. But he's okay. So I used to read him books, and because I am a teacher, I do all the voices, and he has the same ability. He can reproduce sounds and voices exactly how he hears them. So I'm big into Harry Potter, and he watched Harry Potter with me a bunch of times. And at one point, we were just hanging out, and he's like, Mommy, I want to watch Harry Potter. I was like, you want to watch Harry Potter? He's like, yeah, Mom. And I'm like, okay. He's like, I want to hear when he says, Harry, you're a wizard. And he said it with a British accent. And I'm like, who are you? Are you?
Where you get that from? Yeah.
That and watching, I don't know if Kyla ever got to watch Peppa Pig.
Kyla loves Sesame Street and Barney. I think it was more Sesame Street.
Yeah, so Aiden was heavy into Peppa
So,
Pig, and it's like a British pig, and they speak, with a British accent. And to this day, he still says zebra instead of zebra.
Kyla, Kyla likes going and watching stuff on YouTube in German language and Spanish, and she's so like before she would watch YouTube and certain like I would notice that it was certain episodes and she would start crying. And then I see like in Sesame Street, like the what like was supposed to be like the big bag wolf or wherever was coming in, and she was already like crying because the wolf was coming. She would fast forward it. This is how I realized like it was the episode of Sesame Street. It's certain episodes where like and nothing too crazy happens on Sesame Street where somebody like but it's like and I think it was a wolf or a bat or something that came on, and she was like, she couldn't handle it. Like 10 seconds before he came on, she was already crying. Like no, like wolf bat. And she'll say like wolf is bad, wolf bad. And I look and I'm like, oh my god, this girl is like 10 seconds ahead already crying, but she
Yeah,
knows the
there was a
episode.
lot of episodes that Aiden used to watch when he was born. I think Kyla's from the same era, Nick Jr. It was called Noggin before, and they had
Yep.
Dora, they had Peppa Pig. No, not Peppa. They had Olivia, they had Yo Gabba Gabba and the Fresh Beat Band. Oh,
Yo
and
Gabba Gabba
he was heavy
that
into
was
Ni Hao
Kyla.
Kailan, like obsessed. So
Mm,
yeah,
I think was there was there a character on Yo Gabba Gabba called Fuchi Lou?
not Fuchi Lou, is somebody else. I think
I
I know what
I
you're
feel
saying. Remember, it's like these
yeah. What I
big
was
people. There's
that was
people in costumes, and there's one that's like stripy. His name's Broby. There's a DJ Lance, which is the guy with he looks like Spike Lee, but he has like orange top hat with like furry clothes. It's weird. But there was a couple of episodes when
yeah.
one of them would get hurt, and then Aiden was little, and he would cry. He would cry like somebody, like he was hurt. And I would
Died.
get so
Like yeah.
scared. I'm like, what's going on? So then, like you said, looking at those episodes and kind of like hearing what he was scripting too, because he would script from Kailan, because I think the tiger, I forgot his name, got hurt also. So he would like script during that part of Yo Gabba Gabba what happened in Ni Hao Kailan. So he's understanding what's happening in the situation. But for me to find out, it took like investigative skills. So that's another thing I want to say about us parents of children with autism. We're like gonna get to the bottom of it regardless. Yeah, our kids
Absolutely
it's crazy.
amazing.
So okay, can I ask you something? So I know you're dating,
Yes.
and
Uh-huh.
have you thought about having more children?
Yes, I have, but I don't just want to be anybody's baby daddy. I want to be with somebody. Like if I'm gonna have if I'm gonna have another child, I want to be with that person. Like I just want to be. I want to. It has to be not like oh it was an accident or it was like I want something planned. I want something like let's grow together, let's build together. Because one thing I know is that it's just is me even me growing up. I had a father and I didn't have a father. He would come around on the weekends. Like, of course, because they divorced or whatever. But I don't care. I don't have my mother and my dad in the same household. That's all I really would have liked. I think you have a better balance that way. So I would want something like that for my kids.
When I don't know, I kind of got traumatized when Aiden got diagnosed at first, because the internet. I started reading all these articles, and there was one or a few actually. It said like the propensity of you having another child with autism the second time around is high. Everybody's like, no, that's not going to
Hmm.
happen. It's not going to be with the same parents. So, the genes might not be there, etc. But I got really scared. And at this point right now, I'm just like, 38. And I'm like, I don't think it's gonna happen.
S- Let me let me let me ask you this question, right? So, um, at first, it was almost, I want to say it was almost like a blame game at first. Like, oh, is it your side of the family, or is it like and this is like BS that's way old now, but like to me it was just that, you know, we were both scared and we didn't know like what to do. We were coming up with all types of stuff. You're like, was it because I was doing because I was smoking at the time? Like, there was all types of reasons. And even now, some, I want to say, some ignorant people in my family, my daughter, when she was a baby, when she was, I can't even remember, man, she might have been 8 months or something like that. Her mother was late to a doctor's appointment, and she was giving her a bath in the sink, and she cut the cold water off by mistake first. And so like my baby got burned, like her wrist, her stomach, like,
Hmm.
to the point where it was pink, like pink. Um and to this day my father still thinks that's how my daughter became autistic. And I'm like, bro, you have to, like, you got to pick up a book. Like, it's not, it's not a situation where the child was dropping this is, like, I'm sure there's a name for that. This is not the name for that. And I get so frustrated trying to explain it to, like, I don't want to say airheads, but people who are ignorant to what autism is, because they just take it and run with it and say what they want to say. And I get offended fast, so I just leave it alone and let them. Let somebody else explain it to you, because I'm gonna explain it with hands and feet. So I'm gonna go this way, and you can go that way. Like, but it's difficult. It's difficult. It's more difficult dealing with the public perception of what your child is than actually um dealing with
I agree.
my child, should I say.
It that was just the thing is, like, us as parents, we're quick on the uptake. We're like reading the articles and doing this and researching here and looking for resources and doing all that. Which another thing is, like, which we need to address as a community. There's not that many places that you can point a parent to receive resources or to get orientation. Not orientation about, hey, this is autism, but orientation in the sense like, hey, this is what you can do for your child. And if you do it early enough on, in the long run, it'll be better for their quality of life. Okay. So besides that, for the parent, like,
Mm,
family is not necessarily always understanding of your child's disability. It takes a lot of, schooling, and a lot of people don't want to read or they don't care to read. So that was a
mhm.
whole, and even if they say they understand, like, the judgment is still there. When your child doesn't behave as a typically developing
Yeah.
child, or quote
Mm,
unquote normal, which nobody's really normal, then they're looked on like, oh, what's
normal,
wrong with your
absolutely
kid?
not.
So, we have to
Hmm,
be
hmm.
advocates for our children and be their mouthpiece, because a lot of the time they can't, defend themselves. But it's harder when you have family that is not really on
Absolutely.
board or understanding of your child's condition.
It just makes things that much worse. Like, you're the adult up or something. I don't know. I don't even know how to say how to say it. Like, I was just thinking, my daughter, me and my daughter have a bond that only me and my daughter understand, and I'm fine with it. And her, I know that my daughter does more, like, she has a routine at home. So when she's with me, it's a little bit more freestyle. So she does a little bit, so she gets a little bit more extra. And I'm not really like, I'm stern with her, but it's like, when I look at her, or if I try to, like, yeah, I end up feeling
Wait,
bad.
we
Like,
don't have a
damn, so
lot of
baby, I
time left,
can't.
but I want you to talk about Kyla's book.
Oh yes, Kyla is an author also. Kyla, she makes, her grandmother is a baker. So Kyla sometimes used to help or mess up her grandmother's stuff. Um, and her grandmother got together and they made a list of stuff that they wanted to bake to make a book for. and now they
Oh,
have Cooking with Someone Special, which is by Desiree, her grandmother, and Kyla. Those are
okay.
the two
So
authors
I'm gonna
of the
drop
book.
the book link in the show notes, and I'm gonna buy a copy because I would love to have that in my library. ¿Qué
Hmm.
más? I feel like we covered all the topics. Thank you so much, Kevin.
Good. I want to. If you get any like questions or come back to
Yeah,
the show, I will be back if I need to answer anything. But please keep in mind that you're not getting any you're not gonna get any book answers from me. You're gonna get real the stuff that people like, just the stuff that's under your fingernail. That's what you're gonna get from me, the real, not the clean stuff,
no,
because the clean stuff
of
doesn't
course
help
not.
us. It doesn't help me.
So, thank you everyone for listening and joining my compadre and I for this episode. Follow me at Comadreando Pod on Instagram and follow Kevin. Do you want to drop your handle?
You can follow me at Sincere Soul,
And like
spelled with a
Kevin
Y,
said,
on
if you have
Instagram.
any questions whatsoever, please feel free to send me a DM or an email at comadreando@escthenetwork.com. And thank you for spending time entre compadres and comadres today.
Thank you. Hopefully I will be
Great.
back. I already
Okay,
have a
so we can
topic
discuss
that
that.
I'd like to talk to
All
you
right,
about later.
everyone. Thank you so much. Have a great day. Thank you, Kevin. Don't hang up.
All right. Bye. I won't.